Next, I want to talk to you about trusts and why you would set one up and how they work. So there are two kinds of trusts. I mean, there are a few kinds of trusts, but you're probably looking at one of two, which is a unit trust or a discretionary trust. Now, a discretionary trust can also be known as a family trust. That's what you might have heard it called before. And a family trust or a discretionary trust is essentially where you have a trustee, and then you have a list of beneficiaries and who those beneficiaries can rightly include as other beneficiaries. For example, some trusts allow any family member of a beneficiary to be able to receive a distribution of profits, whereas other trusts might be very strict that only the listed beneficiaries can receive distributions. And then you have a trustee who is in charge or makes the decision of who to distribute the money to, which of the beneficiaries the trustee will want to distribute to each distribution. So let's say, for example, you've made a bunch of profit in your business and you've got one trust as the shareholder, and then that trust has a trustee, and the trustee decides each year or each quarter to distribute the dividends from the company that the trust has received as distributions to the individual beneficiaries. And they might decide, okay, we're going to give John 30% of the distributions, we're going to give Sally 20% of the distributions, and we're going to give Tom 50% of the distributions. So the trustee in a discretionary trust or a family trust structure, the trustee is where the buck stops. They can choose who gets the distributions, which of the beneficiaries gets the distributions. And as I said, those beneficiaries may also be able to elect other people to receive their distributions if the trust allows that, family members and whatnot, partners, siblings. So the other kind of trust is a unit trust. And a unit trust is where there are units in the trust, and those units represent a kind of shares almost. So you've got these beneficiaries, and each beneficiary has a different amount of units, which makes up the entire sort of proportion of units in the trust. So if one person had 2 units, another person had 2 units, and another person had 2 units, then essentially they control 33.333% of the trust each. And that means that when distributions are made by the trustee, they always have to be distributed in proportion to the units. They can't be just distributed any way the trustee deems. So it always needs to follow that unit holding. So they're the two major kinds of trusts. Now, the reason you would use these different kinds of trusts, for example, might be that when you've got shareholders in a company that own a specific amount of a company, they might want their shares held in a trust, held via a trust. So, for example, if myself and a friend start up a company, rather than us holding our shares individually in that company, we might decide to set up a trust together, which will maybe buy assets or whatever the case may be, and the shares in the company are owned by that trust, and then we each have a specific amount of units within that trust as beneficiaries. And that could be one way that we hold our shareholding via a unit trust, for example. Whereas a discretionary trust is more likely to be used, like a family environment where you have genuine trust for the person who's the trustee, where you might have, your kids in there, your wife, your siblings. It might be other people that are special to you or important to you in there. But you, at the end of the day, you as the trustee gets to dictate who gets that money and how you spread that money around. So those distributions that happen from the trust are flexible within that different beneficiary list. So you just need to decide if you're going to set up a trust, first of all, why you're setting it up, and do you know why you need one? There are tax benefits to having a trust. There are legal benefits to having trusts. Understanding all of those benefits is very important. And then once you've understood why you want a trust or what you think or would like it to do and how you would like it to function or protect you or to give you an advantage, then it's deciding which trust structure works to best suit that. And looking at the trust deed to make sure that trust deed reflects what it is you want to do. So our trust registration service includes a short consultation for us to understand those things, for you to advise us on what you would like, and then we help you by then registering the trust, setting up the trust deed, of course, sending that to you for execution. Then once you've executed the trust deed, we can then apply for an ABN, and in some states it's required to then get that trust stamped, and that's included in our fees. So any stamping, some people charge $500 just to stamp a trust. We include that in that price, so it gets stamped by a lawyer or an accountant, and that's basically the whole service wrapped up for you of registering a trust.